Welcome to Too Fond of Books. My name is Janelle and this is my TBR video for the Nightingale August Challenge. Now this is the second year this challenge has been running. My friend Ohana from Souhami Vuchu Astra started this challenge last year in order to read more books about Florence Nightingale, about nursing, and about that Victorian time period of when Florence Nightingale was alive. And it's a really interesting challenge, and so I am pleased that she's bringing it back. I'm going to include in the description box below the link to her channel where you can find her announcement video for the challenge, as well as a few recommendations videos. She's done a really good job with recommendations for this challenge. So let's just dive right into this. There are two main prompts for participation. The first one is to read any non-fiction book about Florence Nightingale. And so for that, I found from the library Florence Nightingale at First Hand by Lynn McDonald. This is basically just a pretty brief book, less than 200 pages, a look at Florence Nightingale. The back says that she is one of the most famous figures in modern history, yet much of what we know of her emanates from unreliable secondhand accounts and from a misreading of primary sources. This book aims to put this right. It's a book that reports what Florence Nightingale said and did based on her writing, of which a massive amount survives, scattered in over 200 archives throughout the world. Published to commemorate the centenary of Nightingale's death, McDonald's study presents a Florence Nightingale for the 21st century as an author of great style and wit, a systems thinker, and a pioneering public health reformer. The heroine and nurse were only the start. So that's what I've chosen for this first prompt. The second one is to read a nursing fiction book, and there are a few options here. A, inspired by the life of Florence Nightingale. B, has Florence Nightingale as the main protagonist. C, has the word Nightingale in its title. D, has a protagonist who works with Florence Nightingale later on in its plot. Or E, is related to Florence Nightingale in some way. And I actually have two books for this prompt. The first one is Miss Nightingale's Nurses by Kate Eastham. This is a book set in Liverpool in 1844. From the docks of Liverpool to a distant battlefield can one girl find her brother and save herself. Ada Houston's life is shattered when her brother Frank goes missing following an accident at the docks. But a short time later, she hears a rumor that he survived and left Liverpool to fight a foreign war. Determined not to lose him a second time, she boards a ship to bring him home. But the battlefields of the Crimea are a hostile place for a penniless young woman. A lifeline is thrown her way when she is offered the chance to train as a nurse under the famous Florence Nightingale. Working in the most terrible of conditions, Ada shows the aptitude beyond anyone's expectations as she cares for her injured countrymen, makes new friends, and enjoys the first flutter of romance. But Frank is still missing, and she needs to find him before it's too late. The other one that I found has a kind of just sort of a connection to Florence Nightingale, and this is the Midfired Murders by Jessica Fellowes. This one is set in 1920. 18-year-old Louisa Cannon dreams of escaping her life of poverty in London. Her salvation is a position within the eccentric, aristocratic, and ultimately notorious Mitford household in the Oxfordshire countryside. There, Louisa becomes nursery maid, chaperone, and confidant to the eldest sister Nancy, who is only 16 but will grow up to be a successful novelist. An acerbic, bright young woman already in love with stories, Nancy is eager to have a friend near her own age in a house full of younger siblings and desperate for intrigue and adventure. When a nurse, Florence Nightingale Shore, goddaughter of her famous namesake, is killed on a train in broad daylight, Louisa and Nancy find themselves entangled in the crimes of a murderer who will do anything to remain a mystery. So this one is barely a connection, but it's a historical mystery that I was interested in, so I'm including it anyway. All right, and then so those first two were kind of all that you need to participate in this challenge, is to read 2 books. But there are further challenges which sounded interesting to me, and so I'm going to read those as well. There's a history section where you can choose a medical health case during... read a book about the medical health system during the Victorian age. And for that, I also have 2 books. One is The Butchering Art by Lindsay Fitzharris, and this one hasn't arrived yet from the library, so I'm going to put a picture in here. This is the story, this is Joseph Lister's quest to transform the grisly world of Victorian medicine, so it's about surgery at that time period. We'll see if I can handle it. And then the other one that I have is Inconvenient People, Lunacy, Liberty, and the Mad Doctors of Victorian England by Sarah Wise. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get through this whole thing. We'll see, because it is like 450 pages. But let's see what it says in the synopsis. Gaslight tales of rooftop escapes, men and women snatched in broad daylight, patients shut in coffins, a fanatical cult known as the Abode of Love. The 19th century saw repeated parties about same individuals being locked away in lunatic asylums. With the rise of the mad doctor profession, mad doctor, English liberty seems to be threatened by a new generation of medical men willing to incarcerate difficult family members in return for the high fees paid by an unscrupulous spouse or friend. And contrary to popular modern belief, the mad woman in the attic was at least as likely to have been a mad man. Among the victims were the beautiful and charismatic Rosina, wife of the novelist Edward Bulwer Lytton, Edward Davies, victim of a mother's greed, Louisa Lowe, who paid for her religious fervor, and John Percival, who, despite the best efforts of the abusive asylum attendants, cured himself. Sarah Wise uncovers 12 shocking stories, some untold for over a century, which reveal the darker side of the Victorian upper and middle classes. So yeah, we'll see how that one goes. The second one in the history section is to read a book written by Florence Nightingale. And so for that, I have chosen Letters from Egypt, A Journey on the Nile, 1849 to 1850. So these are the letters that she wrote when she was in Egypt. And so I am fascinated, and it has got these gorgeous, gorgeous illustrations. Look. So yeah, I'm excited to dive into that one and see what her trip was like, and to take a closer look at some of these illustrations. Okay. And then the third one from the history section is to read a book by a predecessor, contemporary, or immediate successor of Florence Nightingale. And so for that, I have found Edith Cavell by Diana Souhami. And look at the back. Edith Cavell was a pioneering nurse who became tragically a war hero. On 20th August 1914, she watched as 50,000 German soldiers marched into Brussels. Nothing in her Victorian upbringing as the vicar's daughter in a small Norfolk village, nor in her nursing career, had prepared her for the dangers of the resistance. Seeking the Woman with the Martyr's Statue, this moving biography draws on the qualities of altruism, devotion, and bravery that sustained Edith Cavell through her remarkable life. So yeah, that sounds very, very interesting. This is also a bit of a longer book, so we'll see, also about 450 pages. Okay, and then just a couple more. There is a real life experience section, and there is three more options in here. Read a book about the contributions or real life experiences of a modern nurse, or you could read about paramedics or paranormal encounters at a hospital or real life haunted hospital. So I have Sisters by Barbara Mortimer, Heroic true life stories from the nurses of World War II. On 3rd September 1939, the Prime Minister declared that Britain was at war with Nazi Germany. Thousands of young women, many of them barely out of school, were sent headlong into grueling training regimes that would see them become wartime nurses. Sisters features over 150 previously unpublished accounts from the archives of the Royal College of Nursing. The vivid, poignant, and riveting stories capture these nurses' incredible bravery and touching friendships. And then I have, we'll see, Haunted Hospitals, Eerie Tales About Hospitals, Sanatoriums, and Other Institutions by Mark Leslie and Rhonda Parrish. so we will see. Hospitals are supposed to be places of healing, places of birth, and places of hope, but with all the varying highs and lows that are experienced in these buildings, is it any wonder that when echoes linger indefinitely? How about asylums, which house some of society's worst offenders and troubled inmates, or sanatoriums, places where the mentally and physically ill find themselves trapped even after death? Journey inside the history of these macabre settings and learn about the horrors from the past that live on in these frighteningly eerie tales from Canada, the United States, and around the world. So we will see. And then there's one further section. The fiction section is to read a fiction about nurses, or a medical horror fiction, or haunted hospitals. And so because I had the 2 fiction earlier, I figure that will count. So that is my TBR for Nightingale, the Nightingale August Challenge. Have you heard about this challenge? I strongly recommend that you check out Ohana's channel and look at her announcement video and her recommendations video. It makes for a really interesting combination of books to read in August, and so I'm looking forward to it. Let me know if this challenge sounds interesting to you. If you've read any of these books, I would love to chat with you in the comment section down below, and I will see you for another video soon. Bye.